a nice song. Of course, all the songs are nice. Okay, we'll do Gurday again. People been to the go away that say Trina Becadina. People been to the go away that say Trina Becadina. Sakalatsane Vijamanes Priyadina Sakalatsane Unnatiya Koro Vijamanes Priyadina Sakalesamane Kodatation Kati Deo Natajata Sakale Samana Quotation Kati Deo Natajata Kami no Gadibo Uri Namasuke Aparada Aparada Abiheno Kripala Pea Jana Kritata Nata Abiheno Kripala Pea Jana Kritata Nata Corrobore at Basata Sakti Buddha Ami Ati Ten Corrobore at Basata Yogata Vichare Kichuna Ibai Wanga Koruna Sara Yogata Vichare Kichuna Ibai Tumara Karuna Sara Korana Nahoere Kania Kania Rananaga Kiboa Korana Nahoere Kania Kania Rananaga Kiboa Srina Bekajina Prabhupada Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jai, oh, Vishnu Pad, Paramahansa, Paramahanacharya, also Tena, Satashi Shimad, His Divine Grace Samaya, Charanana Bhaktivedanta, Goswami, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, ISKCON Founder Acharya, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Anantakoti Vaishnav Vrinda Ki Jai, Namacharya Shilahveda Thakur Ki Jai, Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shidwaita Garadha Shiva Siddhi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Govardhan Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Vrindavanam Ki Jai Paturam Ki Jai Jagadavasami Ki Jai Yamunavai Ki Jai Shrimati Lasi Devi Ki Jai Samveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Gaur Premananda Hari Hari Bol. All glory is the assembled devotees. All glory is the assembled devotees. All glory is the assembled devotees. All glory is to Shri Guru and Gauranga Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Nityanamani Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharni Nivashesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deja Tarni. Okay, so now we're going to go and continue with the Chaitanya Bhagavat, and we're going to hear from the Chaitanya Bhagavat how Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu met Lord Nityananda for the first time, at least in these particular pastimes. Very, very wonderful story. So yesterday, of course, we missed the class because I was on an airplane, and that's a good excuse. So, Om Ganatimaranda Shagananjana Shilakaya Jakshuran Meditam Yena Tasmai Shikadave Namaha. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of my spiritual masters, Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, who so kindly opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge while I was blinded in the darkness of ignorance. So let us share the screen. And here we go. So let's go to the English. One second. Get these windows straightened up. All right, there we go. The two informed the Lord. Of course, they were looking for Lord Nityananda, but they couldn't find him because he was hiding from them. The two informed the Lord, we have not found anyone new. We have searched the residences of Vaishnavas, Sannyasis, and Grahastas, and have even gone to the houses of atheists. We have looked all over Navadweep, but we did not go outside Navadweep. Gaurachandra smiled as he heard their report. By this pastime, he revealed that Nityananda is most confidential. So, of course, Lord Nityananda is Balaram Hoyle Natai, and Balaram appears as the original spiritual master. So we need the mercy of Balaram to become Krishna conscious. We need the mercy of Nityananda, who is none different than Balaram. Some persons sing the glories of Gaurachandra in this incarnation and run away when they hear the name of Nityananda. If one worships Govinda but does not respect Lord Shiva As a result of this sin, he will go to the abode of Yamaraj. Interesting. Of course, there's the story that Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, who is the author of the Chaitanya Charitamrita, his brother and family did not respect Lord Nityananda. And in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, he actually talks about this. He said it's like the half-a-hand logic, just to respect Lord Chaitanya and not Lord Nityananda. Half-a-hand is in reference to the chicken that laid the golden egg. So the story of that chicken who laid the golden egg is once upon a time there was a chicken who laid the golden egg. I'd like to find him. But anyway, the owner, the person who was getting all the gold, thought, this chicken is eating, but the golden egg is coming out of the rear end, so let me just cut the head of the chicken, and then we'll just have the gold. So he cut the head, and there was no more gold. So in the same way, it's an interesting comparison. In the same way, if we don't respect Lord Nityananda along with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, then we'll lose everything. Very, very wonderful story. So anyway, then Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, when he saw that his family was disrespectful to Lord Nityananda, he left home and went to Vrindavan at a very old age and was able to compose the Chaitanya Charitamrita. So this is all Lord Nityananda's mercy. Otherwise, we wouldn't have the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Of course, when Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami went to Vrindavan, actually went to Radhakund, Shamakund to be precise, he resided at. So when he went there, he got the association of Raghunath Das Goswami, who was daily reciting the pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And in this way, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami got all of his information to compile the Chaitanya Charitamrita. In this incarnation, Lord Nityananda is most confidential. One can see him only when Lord Chaitanya reveals him. The progress of anyone who blasphemes him without understanding the depth of his characteristics is obstructed, even if he achieves devotional service to Vishnu. Devotees like Shiva certainly know the truth regarding Nityananda, but for some curious reason, they could not find him. So Shivas Thakur certainly knew the truth. He was actually tested later on by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And because Lord Nityananda, was visiting his house continually, and Lord Chaitanya said, no one knows the background of this Nitai, of this Nityananda. So why are you entertaining him? And Srivas Thakur, with firm determination, told Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, even if Nityananda enters a liquor store, or even if Nityananda marries a Muslim girl, I will not be deterred from my worship of him. And then Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu embraced Srivas Thakur and said, I'm very pleased with you. After a while, the Lord smiled and said, everyone come and see him with me. All the devotees happily went with the Lord while chanting, Jai Krishna. Shri Gaura Sundara led all the devotees to the house of Nandana Acharya. Sitting there was one great jewel-like personality everyone saw, that his effulgence was like that of millions of suns. No one could understand his internal mood. His was absorbed in happiness from his meditation and continually smiled. Understanding his pure devotional mood, Vishwambara and the devotees offered him obeisances. Everyone then stood there watching him in awe and reverence without speaking a word. Mahaprabhu Vishwambara stood directly in front of Nityananda, who immediately recognized the Lord of his life. The form of Vishwambara was as attractive as that of Cupid. He was decorated with divine sandalwood pulp, flower garlands, and garments. How can the luster of shining gold be compared with his body? Even the moon desires to see his face. Accompanied by the devotees, The most enchanting Sri Gauranga and Nityananda wander throughout Navadvip. The value of pearls is minimized on seeing his beautiful teeth, and one loses consciousness on seeing his tied-up hair. One who sees his elongated lotus eyes wonders whether other lotuses exist. His hands reach down to his knees, and his raised chest is adorned with a thin white Brahman thread. His forehead is beautified with marks of tilak, and his entire body looks most enchanting, even without ornaments. As far as tilak is concerned, Prabhupada was actually very strict with it. You know, if a devotee didn't have tilak on, Prabhupada would say, repeating the words of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, your forehead looks like a crematorium. So it's very important for the devotees to have tilak on. It's part of our culture. It's just wonderful. What is the beauty of millions of jewels compared? This makes someone look beautiful or handsome. What is the beauty of millions of jewels compared with the beauty of his toenails? What is the use of nectar when we see a smile? Accepting Sri Chaitanya and Nityananda Prabhu as my life and soul, I, Vrindavan Das, sing the glories of their lotus feet. Thus ends our English translation of the Gaudiya Vasha commentary on Sri Chaitanya Bhagavat, Madhyakana Kanda, Chapter 3, entitled The Lord Manifests His Baraha Form in the House of Murari and Meets with Nityananda. Chapter 4, Revelation of Nityananda's Glories. Hidibol. So let's skip the chapter summary. As Vishwambar stood in front of Nityananda, Nityananda recognized his worshipable Lord. Nityananda became stunned in ecstasy as he stared at the beautiful form of Vishwambar. He appeared to be licking that beautiful form with his tongue, drinking it with his eyes, embracing it with his arms, and smelling it with his nose. In this way, Nityananda became stunned. He neither spoke nor did anything. Everyone there was astonished. Lord Gauranga, the life and soul of all, then devised some means of revealing the identity of Nityananda. The Lord indicated that Srivas should recite a verse from Srimad Bhagavatam. Understanding the Lord's gesture, Srivas Prabhu, a Pandit, immediately recited a verse in glorification of Krishna's characteristics. Wearing a peacock feather ornament upon his head, blue Kanikara flowers on his ears, a yellow garment as brilliant as gold, and the Vaijayanti garland. Lord Krishna exhibited his transcendental form as the greatest of dancers as he entered the forest of Vrindavan, beautifying it with the marks of his footprints. He filled the holes of his flute with the nectar of his lips, and the cowherd boys sang his glories. As soon as Nityananda heard this verse, he fell unconscious to the ground. As Lord Nityananda lost consciousness in ecstasy, Gauranga instructed Srivas to continue reciting. Hearing the verses for some time, he regained his consciousness and began to cry. His madness increased as he heard the continual recitation of verses. He roared so loudly that the sound pierced the universe. He suddenly jumped in the air and fell forcibly to the ground. Everyone there thought that his bones were smashed. What to speak of others, even the Vaishnavas were frightened. They prayed, "Oh Krishna, please protect him." As the Lord rolled on the ground, his entire body became wet with tears of love. He sighed deeply while looking at the face of Vishwambara. His heart was full of ecstasy, and he repeatedly laughed loudly. One moment he danced, one moment he bowed down, one moment he clapped his hands, and one moment he jumped wonderfully with his feet together. Seeing his amazing ecstatic madness and love of Krishna, Gaurachandra and all the Vaishnavas began to cry. His happiness constantly increased, although they tried to hold him still They were unable. When all the Vaishnavas failed to hold him still, Vishwambara personally took him in his arms. As soon as Nityananda was taken on Vishwambara's lap, he surrendered his life to the Lord and became motionless. So much love in exchange here. Nityananda surrendered his life to whom it belonged and remained inert in the Lord's lap. Nityananda floated in the waters of Chaitanya's love, just as Lakshman remained in the lap of Ramachandra after being hit by the Shakti Shila arrow. Nityananda lost consciousness due to being hit by the arrow of ecstatic love. Holding Nityananda on his lap, Gaurachandra began to cry. So, of course, this Shakti Shila arrow is a very interesting part of the Valmiki Ramayana. That Shakti Shila arrow was fired by Indrajit, the son of Ravan. And basically, it appeared that Lakshman was going to die. Of course, Lakshman is the Supreme Personality. Got it. He couldn't die. However, this was a chance for Hanuman to actually carry the Mritu Sanjeevani from the Himalayas all the way to Lanka and arrange for the curing of Lakshman. So, the same way, Lord Ramachandra began to cry when Lakshman was lost consciousness. In the same way, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was crying. The exchange of happiness between the two enjoyed was similar to what is heard between Rama and Lakshman. Wow. And because Lord Chaitanya is he's Ram, and Nityananda is Lakshman. And so you may ask me, well, you said Lord Chaitanya is Krishna and Nityananda is Balarama. Well, whenever the Lord appears, he appears with all his expansions. Of course, the first expansion of Krishna is the original Supreme Personality of God. This is the first expansion of Krishna is Balarama. And then there's Pradyumna and Aniruddha, next two expansions. Then you have the second quadruple expansion, which is Vasudeva, Sankarshan, Pradyumna, and Aniruddha, which is Krishna, Balaram, and then Pradyumna, Aniruddha. So then with Lord Rama's pastimes, you have Krishna, who is Ram. Then you have Lakshman, who is Balaram, and then Pradyumna, Aniruddha, the other two brothers, Ram, Lakshman, Bharat, and Shatrughna. There's no comparison to the affection between Gaurachandra and Nityananda other than that which is found between Ram and Lakshman. After some time, Nityananda regained his external consciousness and all the devotees chanted the name of Hari. When Gadadhar saw Nityananda on the lap of Vishwambara, he was surprised by the reversal of roles and smiled within. Because usually, talking again about Balaram, Balaram's also called Shesh, Ananta, and so Ananta is the expansion of the Supreme Personality of God that holds the Lord. He manifests himself as a serpent. The pride of Ananta who constantly, so he holds the Lord normally, and now the Lord is holding him. The pride of Ananta who constantly holds Vishwambara is smashed today while being held in the Lord's lap. Gadadhar knows the glories of Nityananda, and Nityananda knows the mind of Gadadhar. It's interesting how he says Nityananda also more or less knows the mind of Gadadhar. That's an interesting expression, more or less. While watching Nityananda, the reason for that, let me just unpack that for a second as I understand it. So, Gadadhar is Gaurasundar's most confidential energy, that is, the expansion of Radharani. Therefore, he knows the wonderful glories of Gaura's servant Nityananda. Nityananda also more or less knows the mind of Gadadhar. The reason that it's more or less, that it's not 100%, because Gadadhar, being expansion of Radharani, is related with Krishna, or related with Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and Nityananda does not, or Balaram does not enter into the relationship between Radha and Krishna. He knows about it, but he does not enter. As we go around Govardhan, there is one place called the Doka Gauji Temple. And that temple marks the spot where one time Balaram happened to spy, not spying, but he spied the rasa dance of Krishna, and he became so shocked. He'd never heard of anything like that before. He just dropped his crown, and his crown formed an imprint on the ground, and that imprint is called the Balaram Mukut Shila, because it's on a Shila, Govardhan Shila. While watching Nityananda, the minds of all the devotees became filled with eternal bliss. As Nityananda and Gaura Chandra gazed at each other, they did not speak a word as tears flowed from their eyes. They were both filled with happiness on seeing each other. The earth became flooded with their tears. Vishwambara said, "Today is an auspicious day for me, for I have seen devotional service, which is the essence of the four Vedas." Are such shivering, such tears, and such loud roaring possible for anyone other than one who is empowered by the Lord? Krishna will never forsake one who even once directly sees such devotional service or hears it as we're doing right now. Krishna will not forget us. There's an interesting quote. Actually, I want to read this in the middle of class because I just got this quote today. Hopefully I can find it. I mean, it's really an amazing quote. Give me 1 second. I'm just going to read it to you. It's a quote from Prabhupada, and it's about Krishna not forgetting his devotee. And it'll actually inspire everybody who hears it, if I can find it. Yeah, there it is. Okay. Here is the quote. This is very inspirational because many people ask me the question. Actually, a quote from Baladev Vijayabhushan in his commentary on text 88 of the Vishnu Sahasranama. So, anyway. So many people ask me, what are we going to do at the time of death? That when we die, how am I going to remember Krishna? So, the Varaha Purana statement, if my devotee is not able to remember me at the time of his death because of the great disturbance felt within the body at that time, then I shall remember my devotee and take him back to the spiritual world. Hribo. Okay, back to the nectar of Chaitanya Bhagavat. I understand that you are the full power of Godhead. Only by worshiping you can a living entity attain devotional service to Krishna. You are able to purify the 14 worlds. Your confidential characteristics are inconceivable and unfathomable. Who is qualified to recognize you? For you are the personified wealth of devotional loving devotion to Lord Krishna. If a person associates with you for even a moment, he will be delivered, even if he has committed millions of sinful activities. I've understood that Krishna will deliver me because he has given me your association. Out of great fortune, I have seen your lotus feet. Just by worshiping you, I will achieve the wealth of love for Krishna. Lord Gauranga was fully absorbed as he incessantly offered prayers to Nityananda. Wow! This is for us. Nityananda and Chaitanya conversed with each other through signals and gestures that were unknown to others. The Lord said, "I am afraid to ask, but from which direction have you come?" The greatly overwhelmed Nityananda displayed the mentality of a child. He spoke with the restlessness of a young boy. He understood. This is my Lord who has descended. He folded his hands and humbly spoke. He was embarrassed on hearing the Lord glorify him, so he tactfully clarified the Lord's statements. Nityananda said, I have visited many holy places and seen various sites connected with Lord Krishna. I can only see the place, but I could not see Krishna. Then I inquired from some responsible persons why all the thrones were covered. Thrones means the singhasanas, which is actually part of the Bengali here. Singhasana sabi kani deki, acha dita. So why all the singhasanas? There was nobody on them. I asked them, oh brothers, where has Krishna gone? They said, Krishna has gone to Gauda Desha. He returned a few days ago from his visit to Gaya. And I remember when Lord Chaitanya went to Gaya, he took initiation from Ishwara Puri and he became completely ecstatic. I heard that in Nadia, there's extensive congregational chanting of Lord Hari's glories. Someone said, Lord Narayan has taken birth there. I've also heard that sinful persons are delivered in Navadvip. Therefore, I, being most sinful, have come here. The Lord said, we are all fortunate to have a great devotee like you among us. We consider that today our lives have become successful, for we have seen your flowing tears of love. Murari smiled and said, you understand each other, but we do not understand anything you are saying. Shiva said, what can we understand of that? It is like Madhava and Shankara worshipping each other. Gadadhar said, oh Pandit, whatever you have said is correct. I think their characteristics resemble those of Rama and Lakshmana. Someone else said, these two are just like two cupids. Someone else said, these two are like Krishna and Balaram. Of course, they were absolutely correct. Someone said, I don't know so much, but it appears that Lord Shesha is lying on the lap of Krishna. Someone said they're just like the two friends, Krishna and Arjuna, because they are filled with such affection. Someone else said, it seems they are well known to each other. I cannot understand anything. They speak through their gestures. In this way, all the devotees happily discuss the Lord's meeting with Nityananda. Anyone who hears about the meeting between Nityananda and Gaurachandra is freed from material bondage. Haribol, free me. Nityananda alone serves the Lord as his companion, friend, brother, umbrella, bed, and carrier. So this is a really important statement, that all the Lord's paraphernalia, even when we're talking about the deity on the altar, all the paraphernalia is actually an expansion of Nityananda. The Singhasana, the umbrella over Krishna's head, or covering over Krishna's head, Krishna's bed, Krishna's carrier. Of course, you may say, what about Garuda? Garuda gets empowered by Lord Nityananda. So all these characteristics, Nityananda is everything to Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He serves the Lord in various ways out of his own sweet will. Only one who is favored by him can be qualified to serve the Lord. Only one. Let me read that again. Only one who is favored by him can be qualified to serve the Lord. So that means, you have to get his mercy. Even the greatest Vaishnava and yogi, Lord Mahadev, does not know the limit of his glories. The progress of anyone who blasphemes him without understanding the depth of his characteristics is obstructed, even if he achieves devotional service to Vishnu. My only desire is that Nityananda Ram, who is most dear to Lord Chaitanya, may be the Lord of my life. Haribol. By his mercy, my mind became attracted to Lord Chaitanya, and by his order, I am writing this glorification of Lord Chaitanya. Just as Raghunath and Yadunath are different names for the same person, I know that Nityananda and Baladev are different only in name. Those who wish to cross the ocean of material existence and drown in the ocean of devotional service should worship Lord Nityananda. Haribo. Nitai, Nitai. Anyone who attentively chants these topics receives with his associates benedictions given by Vishwambar. The name of Vishwambara is very rare in this world. That Lord is Sri Chaitanya, the life and soul of all. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Nityananda, accepting, I'm getting too ecstatic. Accepting Sri Chaitanya and Nityananda Prabhu as my life and soul, I, Vrindavan Das, sing the glories, singular, sing the glories of their lotus feet. Thus ends our English translation of the Gaudiya Bhasha commentary on Sri Chaitanya Bhagavat, Madhyakanda, chapter 4, entitled Revelation of Nityananda's Glories. Nitai Ki Jai. Okay, short chapter. Chapter 5, Lord Nityananda's Vyasa Puja. Remember, he's the original spiritual master, so he gets a Vyasa Puja. Vyasa Puja means the worship of Srila Vyasadev's representative. Got it? That's really important. Vyasa Puja ceremony is darshan of the Lord's six-arm form. That's got the Sadbhuja form. All right. Long commentary in the beginning. Whoops. Okay. Text 1. All glories to Chaitanya Chandra, who is non-different from Lord Murari, who is the new lamp of Navadvip, who is like an unparalleled lion in subduing the elephant-like atheist, and who holds a string for counting his own names, Hare Krishna, which he chants. All glories to Vishwambara, the life and soul of all. All glories to the Lord of Nityananda and Gadadhar. All glories to the Lord, who is controlled by his devotees, headed by Advaita. O Lord, please distribute your devotional service and deliver the fallen souls. In this way, all the devotees became overwhelmed while discussing topics of Krishna and the association of Nityananda. All the devotees were greatly magnanimous Mahabhagavats, that means topmost devotees. They roared loudly as they became intoxicated in the mellows of Krishna consciousness. Nityananda Prabhu smiled as he looked around. Tears of love flowed from everyone's eyes. When Mahaprabhu Vishwambara saw this ecstatic scene, he spoke something to Nityananda. Oh, Sripad Nityananda Goswami, please hear. Where should we hold your Vyasa Puja ceremony? That's so interesting. What does it say about him? Okay, anyway, what do we read about Vyasa Puja? Tomorrow is the full moon day when Vyasa is worshipped, so consider and inform us what is to be done. I guess it was the Guru Purnima. Nityananda understood the Lord's hint and brought Srivasa Pandit forward by the hand. Nityananda smiled and said, please hear, O Vishwambara, I will observe Vyasa Puja in the house of this Brahmana. So that's Srivasa's house. Lord Vishwambara said to Srivasa, this is a great responsibility for you. Srivasa Pandit replied, O Lord, this is not at all a burden for me. By your mercy, everything is available in my house. Cloth, mung dal, Brahmin threads, ghee, betel, pan, and whatever else is needed are all there. I only have to borrow a book explaining the procedures. I am most fortunate, for tomorrow I will see the Vyasa Puja. Mahaprabhu was greatly pleased by the words of Srivas, and all the Vaishnavas began to chant, Huri, Huri! Vishwambara said, O Sripad Goswami, please listen. With your blessings, we will all go to Srivas Pandit's house. Nityananda was pleased with the Lord's words. Taking the Lord's instruction, they all immediately departed. As Nityananda and Vishwambara went along with their associates, it appeared that Balaram and Krishna were surrounded by the residents of Gokula. As soon as they entered the house of Srivas, everyone was filled with ecstatic love for Krishna. The Lord ordered that the main entrance be closed, that no other than intimate associates can enter. Oh my God, I guess they wouldn't have let me in. The Lord gave the instruction to begin kirtan. As the sound of that kirtan arose, everyone lost external consciousness. In the ecstatic Adivasa kirtan prior to Vyasa Puja, the two lords danced as the devotees surrounding them sang. Adivas is something that's done in the beginning to signify the beginning of a festival. Sometimes there's a whole Adivas day, which in marriage, actually we read about that in terms of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's marriage. Sometimes it's just 5 minutes, sometimes an hour. So Chaitanya and Nitai are bound by eternal love. They meditated on each other as they danced together. Someone roared loudly and someone cried out. Someone fell unconscious while someone else wept. I am unable to describe the Lord's transformations of love, such as shivering, perspiring, hair standing on end, crying, and falling unconscious in ecstasy. As the two lords danced in their own ecstasy, they sometimes embraced each other and cried. They both tried to catch the other's feet, but they both cleverly avoided being caught. They both rolled on the ground in ecstasy and forgot themselves while absorbed in their own pastimes. They lost all external consciousness and their cloth scattered. Although the Vaishnavas tried to pacify them, they were unable. Who can hold that personality who holds the three worlds? The two lords thus became intoxicated in the happiness of kirtan, Hribo. Sri Gaurasundar called out, chant, chant, and his entire body became soaked with tears of ecstasy. After obtaining the fulfillment of his long-cherished desire for the association of Nityananda, the Lord forgot himself and floated in an ocean of bliss. Vishwambara's dancing was most enchanting as his feet would touch his own head. Phew, it's hard to imagine what that means. The earth trembled under the feet of Nityananda, and all the Vaishnavas thought there was an earthquake. In this way, the two lords danced in ecstasy. Who has the power to describe their jubilation? In order to reveal the glories of Nityananda, Lord Vishwambara became absorbed in the mood of Balaram and sat on the throne. That means on the altar. The Lord became intoxicated by the mood of Balaram and repeatedly demanded, give me wine, bring wine, bring wine. Sri Gaurasundara said to Nityananda, quickly, give me your plow and club. Being instructed by the Lord, Nityananda Prabhu put those items in the hands of Gauranga, who accepted them. Some persons saw nothing other than their hands, while others directly saw the plow and club. Well, others, only one who is favored by the Lord can know him. Others, even if they see, they cannot explain. This topic is most confidential and is known only to those few persons who know the glories of Nityananda. After accepting the plow and club from Nityananda, the Lord was overwhelmed and called for Varuni. Everyone was speechless and confused as they looked at each other. So, of course, the Varuni beverage is actually the intoxicated beverage coming from the trees, actually by the influence of the moon, that Balaram drank. And he became so intoxicated while he was dancing with his own gopis that he wanted the Yamuna to come near, and the Yamuna refused because she thought he's an intoxicated person. So Balaram took his plow and scratched the Yamuna until the Yamuna actually agreed to come. And then he bathed the Yamuna. So after accepting the plow and club from Nityananda, the Lord was overwhelmed and called for Varuni. Everyone was speechless and confused as they looked at each other. After careful consideration, they offered the Lord a pitcher of Ganges water. All the devotees offered water, and the Lord drank it. It appeared as though Lord Balarama himself was drinking. The devotees on all sides offered prayers and glorification of Balarama as the Lord constantly called out, Nada, 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 which means Advaitacharya, actually. The Lord rolled his head back and forth while calling out, Nada, Nada, but no one understood the actual meaning of the word Nada. So it was Advaitacharya, and the Lord was calling him, or calling for him, although no one knew that the Lord was calling for Advaitacharya. Everyone inquired, "O Lord, who is this Nada you are calling?" The Lord replied, "He by whose loud cries I came." Because remember that Advaitacharya was worshipping the Ganges and Tulsi and crying out, Krishna come, because the people were so fallen in this day and age. This incarnation of mine was induced by Nada, whom you all call Advaitacharya. Nada has brought me from Vaikuntha, but now he is living free from all cares with Haridas. I have descended to inaugurate the Sankirtan movement, by which I will preach the chanting of the holy names in each and every house. I will not award love of God to those fallen souls who have offended my devotees, because they are proud of their education, wealth, high birth, knowledge, and austerities. Otherwise, I will give everyone that which persons like Lord Brahma enjoy. Long purport. On hearing the Lord's statement, all the devotees floated in bliss. After a while, Sri Satchidananda became pacified. The Lord then asked, "Have I been restless?" The devotees replied, "Nah, not particularly." The Lord lovingly embraced everyone and said, "Please do not ever be offended by my behavior." On hearing the Lord's words, all the devotees smiled. Then Nityananda and Mahaprabhu rolled about on the ground. Nityananda, who was non-different from Shesha, could not control his ecstatic mood and became overwhelmed with the mellows of loving devotion. One moment he laughed, one moment he cried, and the next moment he was naked. His entire body was filled with the nature of a child. Where was his danda? Where was his water pot? And where were his clothes? Nothing remained with him. The most grave Nityananda became restless, but the Lord personally pacified him. The mad lion-like Nityananda was controlled by the iron, rod-like words of Lord Chaitanya. He did not care for anything else. Be calm. Tomorrow you must worship Vyasadeva. Speaking in this way, the Lord returned home. So I think we're going to finish sharing today, and we can perhaps take some questions. If anyone has any questions, let me allow you all to unmute yourselves. Really amazing pastimes in today's recitation. So, if you really want to ask a question, you can type in the chat window. You can unmute yourself. You can raise your hand like you do in school. May I please talk? Okay, Rishikesh.
Hare Krishna, Gurudev. My obeisances.
Yeah. What's the question?
Gurudev, I have a question about Lord Nityananda's Baitak in Radhakund. You know, he visited Radhakund. Was it before the Radhakund was discovered by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, or was after that?
It would have to be before it was discovered by Lord Chaitanya.
Because before, okay.
It would have to be before, because basically this Lord Chaitanya discovered Radhakund and Shambhakund when after he took sannyas and when he traveled to Vrindavan.
So he already knew about these two places then?
Yeah. Lord Nityananda knew about this place too. I mean, obviously there wasn't a house there or anything like that, but that's just the place. You know, there wasn't any building there, but that was the place where Lord Nityananda sat. The place is being commemorated by the present day building.
I see. Yeah, I was just wondering.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Good question. Yeah, time sequence there, So here's a question by a nice devotee. It says, Lord Krishna does not give bhakti, but Lord Chaitanya, in the form of Vishnu, Krishna gives bhakti to his devotees after praying, like we saw in the previous class, to Srinivas family. May your mind be fixed on me, and we see similar benedictions given to devotees in Srimad Bhagavatam, where devotees ask for pure devotional service birth after praying to the Lord. That is, Prithu Maharaj and others. So how do we understand this? Well, we understand that in order to be able to do that, they all had spiritual masters who gave them bhakti previously. I mean, obviously, they were worshiping the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, how do they, or why do they worship the Lord? They wouldn't worship the Lord unless they had the bhakti lata bija implanted by the association of devotees. So, that's how we understand it. So, in other words, even though it appears that they just directly approached the Lord and they got pure love of God, there's a lot that went on before. There's a background story, as they say. Why do they approach the Lord? Why were they inclined to approach the Lord in that particular way? And obviously, because they had association with the Lord's devotees, or they were interested devotees, and some of them are. Right? So, anyway, another question. Question or comment or argument. Raise your hand, type in the chat window. This is your opportunity. And tomorrow we'll continue. I'm sorry I missed yesterday, but I was in an airplane at that particular time, so I couldn't give class. But I'm planning to give tomorrow too. This is something I look forward to all day long. So, if there's no other questions, I guess we can end 5 minutes early. So, going once, going twice, going 3 times. No questions. So, thank you very much. All glories to His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Are we supposed to worship Tulsi in the evening too? Oh, there was another question here. So, if you want, but at least once a day, you worship Krishna.
Ram 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 Hare Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna.
Well, someone else is chanting. Yes, I muted him. So, is there any need of asana while chanting? Yeah, you should have an asana. It usually says that one should sit on some covering of the floor while chanting the Lord's holy names. That's usually the injunction. You can worship Tulsi in the evening, but at least once a day. We usually do it in the morning. And you could do it 10 times a day. You could worship Tulsi. You could worship 100 times a day, but at least once a day you worship Tulsi Devi. That was Prabhupada's standard. Prabhupada, some of the temples had 2 Tulsi worships in the afternoon, in the day. And the reason for that was that guests would come in the evening. Not so much that it's a standard part of the devotional activities or a necessary part to worship twice a day. That's just something that was added in ISKCON so that people who weren't in the morning program, who were late risers, Jeev Jago, Gaura Chandra Bole, they actually had the opportunity to worship at least once a day. Okay, thank you very much. On that happy note, we will end now. All glories.